There are moments in life when your heart wants to cry out, when your tongue wants to respond, when every fiber of your being wants to explain, defend, argue, or fight back. Yet, the greatest strength sometimes is not in speaking, but in remaining silent. Staying silent does not mean weakness. Staying silent is not defeat. It is an act of placing your trust where it truly belongs, into the hands of Allah, who knows every secret, who sees every injustice, and who hears every unspoken word. When people wrong you, when your character is attacked, when your name is dragged through the mud, remember that every word uttered against you is being recorded by the one who never forgets. Do you really need to waste your breath defending yourself before people when the creator of people himself is your witness? Silence in these moments becomes worship because you are restraining the tongue that could otherwise lead to regret, and you are allowing Allah to be your defender, when silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. In fact, silence can be more powerful than the sharpest of tongues. Many people assume that staying silent is a form of weakness, that if you do not defend yourself, if you do not respond to those who hurt you, then you have surrendered or you have no courage. But in reality, silence is one of the strongest weapons a believer can hold. It is an inner strength, a sign of self-control, and a reflection of deep trust in Allah. It takes far more strength to stay calm and hold your tongue when everything inside of you wants to respond than it does to lash out with anger. Anyone can speak, anyone can shout, anyone can insult in return, but only a strong person can remain silent when provoked. Silence is a form of worship because you are restraining yourself from engaging in what could lead to sin. Silence is a discipline that protects your dignity and safeguards your record on the day of judgment. When you are wronged, when people speak against you, when your name is tarnished, you may feel the urge to reply, to clear your image, to expose the lies. But if you remain silent with patience, you are demonstrating your reliance on Allah and not on your own ability to justify yourself before people. This is real strength. Because it shows that your heart is not desperate for the approval of people, but is content with the knowledge that Allah knows the truth. Consider for a moment the amount of harm that comes from words. Many arguments begin with a single harsh sentence. Friendships are broken with one insult. Families are torn apart with reckless speech. Hearts are shattered with careless remarks. If you think carefully, silence in many of these situations would have preserved peace, protected relationships, and prevented regret. The tongue is small, but its impact is enormous. Silence protects you from the fire of the tongue. How often do we regret the words we spoke in anger, but how rarely do we regret the silence we chose instead? By staying silent, you save yourself from countless sins, from disputes that escalate, and from wounds that may never heal. True strength is not measured by how loudly you can argue your point, or how quickly you can respond to an insult. True strength is measured by your ability to restrain yourself. The strongest person is the one who controls his anger, who chooses not to retaliate, who remains silent when provoked, and who leaves the matter to Allah. It is easy to fight back, it is easy to raise your voice, but it is difficult to maintain silence. And that difficulty is what makes it valuable. That is why silence is strength, not weakness. It is a mark of maturity, wisdom, and a deep connection with your Creator. Now think of how beautiful it is when you leave your affairs in the hands of Allah. The world may judge you unfairly, tongues may attack you mercilessly. Allah is the best of defenders. You do not need to exhaust yourself trying to explain every detail of your life, trying to convince people who may never be convinced, or trying to fight battles that were never worth fighting in the first place. Instead, when you choose silence, you are actually speaking to Allah through your trust. You are saying, "You are my witness, you know the truth, and you are enough for me." This reliance upon Allah is liberating because it frees you from the endless need to please people. When people attack you, do you really think your words can protect you more than Allah's defense? When falsehood is spread against you, do you really believe your explanations can erase it better than the one who controls every heart? The reality is, you cannot control what people believe, but you can always control your response, and the most powerful response is silence with trust in Allah. He clears the names of those who are patient. He raises the ranks of those who rely upon Him. He humiliates those who spread lies, and He grants peace to those who choose His way. If you study the lives of the righteous, you will find a common theme. They were often wronged, accused, or misunderstood, yet they did not spend their lives fighting rumors. It chose silence and trusted Allah to reveal the truth in His time. That is why they were granted respect, honor, and dignity. Allah Himself becomes the defender of those who stay silent for His sake. He protects their honor, He elevates their status, And He opens doors of goodness for them that no human could have ever imagined. Sometimes the more you defend yourself, the more you fuel the fire of falsehood. People who want to misunderstand you will always find a reason to do so. If they are determined to see you in a negative light, no amount of explanation will change their perspective. So why tire yourself out? Why argue endlessly? Instead, place your trust in Allah, the one who sees what no one else sees, who knows what no one else knows, and who judges with perfect justice. Your silence is not a sign that you do not have an answer. It is a sign that you trust Allah's answer more than your own. Your silence is not a sign that you are weak. It is a sign that you are strong enough to walk away from petty disputes and focus on what truly matters. Your silence is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign of victory because you are winning against your own ego and handing your matter over to the King of Kings. Think about the comfort that comes with this mindset. You no longer need to waste sleepless nights worrying about what people think. You no longer need to engage in endless debates trying to prove your innocence. You simply raise your hands in dua and say, Allah, you are enough for me. And Allah responds in ways that will astonish you. He may change the hearts of your enemies. He may expose the lies without you lifting a finger. He may grant you peace so deep that the noise of people no longer disturbs you. This is the power of silence when combined with trust in Allah. And silence does not mean doing nothing. While your tongue remains quiet, your heart speaks to Allah in constant remembrance. Your silence becomes filled with dhikr. Your silence becomes filled with patience. Your silence becomes filled with dua. And these silent acts of worship are more powerful than the loudest arguments. Silence gives you space to connect with Allah, to find clarity, to regain strength. It becomes a shield that protects your dignity and a means of turning your pain into closeness with your Lord. Every word that leaves your mouth is not just sound. It is a record. It is witnessed. It will follow you long after the moment has passed. That is why being mindful of what we say is one of the greatest responsibilities placed upon us as believers. Often we underestimate the power of words. A single phrase can lift someone's heart from despair to hope, and a single phrase can push someone from calmness into destruction. If we understood the weight of every sentence, every comment, every remark, we would become far more careful before speaking. Silence then becomes a shield, protecting us from saying something that will come back to haunt us in this world or in the hereafter. When you remain silent, you are actually protecting your own book of deeds. You are saving yourself from having to account for words spoken in haste, words spoken in anger, words spoken without thought. Every insult, every lie, every harsh response is recorded, and on the day of judgment you will see it written before you. Many people live with regret because of things they once said. How many marriages were broken because of a few reckless words? How many friendships ended because of an argument where tongues became weapons? How many children carry wounds for life because of words they heard in their youth? The scars of speech last much longer than the scars of physical pain. That is why silence is not just a passive act, it is active protection. It shields others from harm and it shields you from sin. Silence is not about ignoring, it is about controlling. Controlling the urge to defend, to attack, to respond in the heat of the moment, because you know those words will be written and presented back to you. Imagine standing before Allah and finding pages filled with words that could have been avoided with a moment of silence. Words that brought no benefit, words that caused harm, words that only added weight to the scale of bad deeds. Is it worth it? Is one insult worth tarnishing your record? Is one angry response worth standing ashamed on the day of judgment? Silence is not a weakness in these moments, it is wisdom. It is better to be thought of as quiet than to fill your book with regrets. The one who chooses silence is not losing the argument, they are winning in the eternal record. When your victory truly matters, when you remain silent, it does not mean you have no answer. It means you have chosen the greater answer, the one written in patience and trust. Silence gives space for reflection, and reflection allows wisdom to guide your actions. A hasty response may satisfy your ego for a moment, but silence satisfies your soul for eternity. The greatest harm often comes from tongues that are uncontrolled, and the greatest peace often belongs to those who master their speech. The one who speaks less has less to regret, while the one who speaks without thought has more to account for. Every word is a seed. Some words grow into trees that shade others with comfort and kindness, while other words grow into thorns that pierce hearts for years. Silence gives you the chance to plant nothing harmful, to ensure that what you sow will not be used against you. Not every battle needs your voice. There are times when speaking only adds fuel to the fire and silence becomes the wiser path. Arguments often escalate because both sides want to be heard, to be proven right, to have the last word. But what if one side simply chose silence? The argument would fade, the fire would burn out, the storm would settle. Many conflicts could be resolved not by proving a point, but by choosing peace over pride. Not every situation requires your defense. Not every rumor deserves your explanation. Not every insult needs a response. Silence in these moments is not avoidance, it is elevation. You are rising above the noise, refusing to lower yourself to the level of those who thrive on argument and conflict. When someone speaks ill of you, their words are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of their own state. If you respond to them with the same harshness, you have lowered yourself to their level. But if you remain silent, you show that their words do not define you, and you place your trust in the one who knows your reality. The Prophet faced slander, false accusations, and ridicule, yet he did not waste his life fighting every rumor. He placed his trust in Allah, who defended him in ways no speech could have. This is a powerful lesson. Silence in the face of falsehood is not surrender, it is reliance. It is trusting that the truth will be revealed by the one who controls all affairs. Consider how much time and energy is wasted in arguments that bring no benefit. Endless discussions on trivial matters, constant attempts to prove oneself right, debates that lead only to bitterness and pride. Silence in such moments is not a loss, it is wisdom. You are choosing to protect your peace, to save your energy, to focus on what truly matters. Life is too short to waste on battles that have no value in the sight of Allah. Your silence is not empty, it is filled with strength, dignity. You are saying with your silence, I do not need to win in the eyes of people, because I trust in victory from Allah. There are moments when silence becomes the highest form of response. When your dignity is attacked, silence says, I will not descend to your level. When lies are spread about you, silence says, I trust Allah to reveal the truth. When anger rises in your heart, silence says, I value my record before Allah more than my ego in this world. Not every insult deserves your reply. Not every misunderstanding requires your explanation. Silence frees you from the trap of constant defense, and it elevates you above the noise of worldly disputes. The truth is, people will always have opinions. They will speak, they will judge, they will misunderstand. If you spend your life trying to respond to every word, you will exhaust yourself. But if you choose silence and leave it to Allah, you will find peace that no amount of arguing could ever bring. Silence is not about running away from problems. It is about choosing the higher path, the path of trust, the path of patience, the path that leads to the ultimate defender. When you are silent, you are not ignoring what is happening, you are choosing who will handle it. And who better to handle it than Allah? Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every voice deserves your reply. When you choose silence in moments of provocation, you are actually declaring that your time, your energy, your heart are too valuable to waste on negativity. You are preserving yourself for what truly matters. You are safeguarding your peace, your faith, and your dignity. And in doing so, you are demonstrating a strength that is rare in this world, a strength that comes not from loudness but from calmness, not from retaliation but from restraint. Silence is not an absence of response, it is a response of its own. It speaks volumes without uttering a word. It says, I have nothing to prove to you because I know Allah sees all. Silence is not just an act of withholding words. It is an opportunity for the heart to speak to the one who created it. When you remain quiet in moments of pain, injustice, or misunderstanding, it does not mean that your voice has been lost. It simply means your voice has shifted direction. Instead of addressing people who may never understand you, you turn to Allah who knows you better than you know yourself. This is the beauty of silence. It opens the door to dua. It allows you to step away from the noise of the world and enter into the private sanctuary of communication with your Lord. Every moment of silence can become a moment of connection, because when your tongue refrains from defending itself, it frees itself to praise Allah, to seek His help, to complain to Him rather than to people. Think about the times you have been misunderstood, the times when someone has spoken against you, or when people have judged you unfairly. The natural reaction is to defend yourself, to explain, to argue back. But how often has that explanation actually solved the problem? Most of the time, it leads to more arguments, more misunderstanding, more frustration. But when you choose silence, when you hold back your words, and instead turn your pain into a heartfelt dua, you find a peace that explanations could never bring. People may doubt your words, but Allah never doubts your heart. He hears the cry you never speak aloud. He knows the tears you hide from the world. Your silence then becomes filled with powerful conversations with the one who has all solutions in his hand. There is something incredibly beautiful about replacing arguments with supplications. Instead of wasting time trying to convince people, you spend time seeking help from the one who controls people's hearts. Instead of allowing anger to guide your tongue, you allow patience to guide your doer. Every time you choose silence, you gain an opportunity to engage in remembrance, to whisper your needs, your fears, your hopes to the Almighty. Silence transforms from being an absence of speech to becoming a presence of worship. It is not emptiness. It is filled with words that matter the most. Words directed not at creation but at the Creator. Imagine being wronged and instead of responding to the wrongdoer, you respond to Allah with your dua. You are saying, "O Allah, that dua is heard, it is written, it is cherished. And Allah has promised that He responds to those who call upon Him." So in silence, you are not ignoring the problem. You are placing it into the hands of the one who can fix it in ways you cannot even imagine. How many times have people tried to solve their problems through endless debates and arguments only to end up more hurt, more broken, more bitter? And how many times has silence with dua led to unexpected relief, to doors opening, to hearts softening? This is the secret that silence carries. But silence is not only about dua when you are wronged. Silence also gives you the ability to engage in constant remembrance of Allah in your daily life. When your tongue is not engaged in meaningless speech, it is free to say words of dhikr, Subhanallah or Hamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Words that weigh heavily on the scale, words that bring light to the heart, words that draw you closer to your Lord. Silence clears the noise so that the most important words can fill the space. In a world full of endless chatter, gossip, and distraction, silence becomes the fertile ground for remembrance. It allows you to redirect your energy from people to Allah, from problems to prayer, from noise to serenity. This is why silence is not weakness. It is a tool for spiritual growth. It is an act of worship when used to connect with Allah. It is an opportunity to replace harmful speech with beneficial remembrance. It is a chance to take what could have been an argument and transform it into a supplication. Those who understand the secret know the value of silence. They do not see it as wasted time, but as time invested in their relationship with Allah. Alongside this, the dignity lies in restraint. There is a nobility that comes from being able to control yourself in moments when you are provoked. People often confuse dignity with pride. They think that dignity comes from having the last word, from defending your image at all costs, from proving others wrong. But true dignity is the opposite. It is seen in the one who can remain composed while others lose themselves in anger. It is seen in the one who smiles when insulted, who walks away when provoked, who chooses silence over retaliation. This is real dignity. It is self-control in the face of chaos. When someone insults you and you respond with silence, you are not weak. You are dignified. You are showing that their words cannot pull you down, that your worth is not defined by their insults. When someone spreads lies about you and you do not waste your time arguing back, you are preserving your dignity. You are saying, "My honor is in the hands of Allah, not in the approval of people." This dignity cannot be taken away because it is rooted in patience and trust. Restraint is not easy. The ego pushes us to respond, to fight back, to make sure others see our side. But the one who learns restraint has learned mastery over the self. Anyone can react, but not everyone can restrain. Restraint shows wisdom, maturity, and a deep understanding that the opinion of people does not decide your value. Dignity lies in the ability to rise above. Just as a tree does not bend to every wind that blows against it, the dignified person does not bend to every word spoken against them. They remain firm, rooted, and calm. Think of how often arguments escalate because both sides refuse to restrain themselves. One person says something hurtful, the other responds even more harshly, and soon a small disagreement becomes a broken relationship. But if one side had chosen restraint, the cycle would have ended. That is the power of dignity in restraint. It has the ability to stop the storm before it grows. It protects your peace and preserves your relationships. It prevents you from saying words you cannot take back. Restraint also brings respect. People may laugh at you in the moment when you remain silent, but deep down they will respect you for your composure. They may insult you for not responding, but in time they will admire your calmness. True respect is not earned by loudness, but by self-control. And even if people do not respect you, Allah honors you for your restraint. He raises your rank, He protects your dignity, He grants you peace that cannot be stolen by insults. Dignity in restraint also saves you from regret. How many times do people wish they had stayed quiet instead of responding? How many times do people regret the words they said in anger? Restraint prevents you from carrying that burden. It allows you to walk away with peace, knowing you preserved your dignity and left your matter with Allah. This is why silence and restraint go hand in hand. Silence opens the door to dua and remembrance, while restraint preserves your dignity and prevents regret. Together, they form a shield that protects both your heart and your record. The one who learns silence and restraint learns true strength. They are not swayed by the noise of the world. They are not shaken by the insults of people. They are anchored in trust, patience, and dignity. They understand that silence is not about losing, it is about winning in the ways that truly matter. They know that restraint is not about weakness, it is about strength that comes from control, wisdom, and faith. Silence is not simply the absence of words, it is the presence of reflection. When a person learns to hold back the tongue, they are not only avoiding harm, they are giving the heart and mind space to think. Silence allows clarity. It allows you to process emotions before reacting, to weigh the consequences before speaking, and to realign your intentions before taking action. Too often, people rush to respond without giving themselves a moment to pause. In the heat of anger, words fly that are later regretted. In the excitement of gossip, stories are shared that destroy trust. In the arrogance of debate, voices are raised and egos clash, leaving wounds that take years to heal. Yet one moment of silence could have prevented it all. By choosing silence, you are allowing wisdom to guide you instead of emotion. Reflection in silence helps you see beyond the immediate moment, beyond the sting of words, beyond the temptation of pride, and into the reality of what truly matters. When you remain silent, you give yourself the chance to listen, not just to others but to yourself. You begin to hear the whispers of your heart, the thoughts that rush through your mind, and most importantly, you create space to hear the remembrance of Allah. Silence creates room for self-awareness. It allows you to ask yourself, is what I am about to say pleasing to Allah? Will these words bring good or will they cause harm? Will I regret them later or would I be rewarded for them? This self-questioning is what elevates a believer, because they do not just live on impulse. They live with thought, with consciousness. Silence gives you the pause needed to bring that awareness into every word and every action. The world around us is filled with noise. Everyone is talking. Everyone is expressing, everyone wants to be heard. Yet how many people are truly reflecting? How many are listening before they speak? How many are holding back to think before they act? Silence makes you different. It separates you from the chaos of endless chatter and puts you on the path of wisdom. It teaches you that not everything needs an immediate response. Sometimes the best answer is no answer. Sometimes the greatest reply is patience. Sometimes the strongest statement is made by withholding words. Reflection gives meaning to your silence, and silence gives depth to your reflection. Together, they build a character of calmness, thoughtfulness, and strength. Silence also gives you time to remember Allah. When you refrain from meaningless speech, you find yourself remembering what truly matters. Instead of filling your tongue with complaints, you fill it with gratitude. Instead of wasting time in arguments, you spend time in dua. Instead of speaking just to be heard, you speak only when it pleases Allah. This balance comes from reflection. You realize that your tongue is a tool, and every moment you keep it silent is a chance to avoid sin and engage in remembrance. Silence becomes a shield, but also a mirror helping you see yourself clearly. And when you see yourself clearly, you are able to correct your flaws, polish your character, and align your actions with the path that leads to Allah's pleasure. Alongside this, silence and reflection bring about another gift, the realization that justice does not belong in your hands alone. You begin to understand that no matter how much you explain, no matter how much you argue, human beings are limited. People may still misunderstand you, they may still doubt you, they may still wrong you. And if you rely only on your words to clear your name, you will always be frustrated. But when you leave your matters to Allah, when you trust Him as the ultimate judge, you find a peace that human validation could never give. This is where trusting Allah brings ultimate justice. Human justice may fail, courts may be unfair, people may be biased, but Allah's justice never fails. He sees every injustice, He hears every false word, He knows every hidden secret. When you leave your affairs in His hands, you are entrusting them to the one whose knowledge is perfect and whose judgment is flawless. Think about the relief this brings. You no longer need to fight every battle. You no longer need to chase every rumor. You no longer need to waste your energy proving yourself to people. You simply say, Allah knows, and you continue with your life. This does not mean you do not take action where needed. It means that after doing what is within your capacity, you hand over the rest to Allah. You stop carrying the burden of outcomes. You stop being weighed down by the opinions of others. You live with the serenity that your Lord will never let injustice go unanswered. He may not respond immediately, but He will respond in the perfect time, in the perfect way. History is full of examples where truth eventually prevailed, even after long periods of falsehood being celebrated. Lies may shine for a moment, but the light of truth always breaks through. And for the believer, the promise is clear. Allah defends those who are patient, those who trust Him, those who choose silence over sin and reliance over retaliation. Leaving your matters to Allah is not passivity, it is the greatest act of strength. Because it takes courage to let go. It takes faith to trust that Allah's justice is better than your defense. It takes patience to wait for His timing. And those who do so are never disappointed. Many times the pain we feel is not from what was said about us, but from our desire to fix it ourselves. We want people to know the truth. We want them to see our side. We want them to believe in our innocence. But if you place that desire in Allah's hands, you free yourself from endless striving. You free yourself from sleepless nights. You free yourself from the anxiety of trying to control what is beyond your control. You walk with the confidence that the one who controls every heart can change hearts in your favor when He wills. And even if He chooses not to, because He has written something better for you. Silence with reflection and trust in Allah is not easy, but it is transformative. It changes the way you see problems. It changes the way you handle conflict. It changes the way you live. Instead of being reactive to every word and every situation, you become anchored in calmness. Instead of wasting energy on people's opinions, you invest energy in dua and remembrance. Instead of carrying the weight of proving yourself, you hand it over to the one who is your ultimate witness. And that shift brings peace that no words could ever describe. So the next time you are wronged, pause. The next time you are insulted, stay silent. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself endlessly, reflect and leave it to Allah. Remember that silence gives you room to think, to heal, to connect with your Lord. And trusting Allah brings you the justice you could never secure with your own words. This combination of silence, reflection, dignity, and reliance is what builds a believer who is unshaken by the noise of the world. It is what gives you strength without anger, victory without argument, and peace without explanation.